unnamed podcast. This is the first podcast I've ever done. Hopefully, it's not the last one that I do. I want to make this podcast about current issues in South Africa as a whole. That's why today we're going to be talking about why South Africans are broke and broken. Yeah, see, that's the title of the podcast. So, if you're interested, stick around. Let's dive into this. Let's explore why we have no money in our pockets, yet we're in one of the best economies in Africa. Second to maybe Nigeria. No, I don't even think we're second to Nigeria. I think Nigeria is second to us. They have a population of about 173 million plus. We have a population of about 62 million. Their economy is big based off of the oil and the human resource they have. It's like China. And if you think this is the information might be incorrect, just let me know over there. It's always good to give and get feedback. Right. So we're going to dive into one of South Africa's most pressing issues, the income disparity in South Africa. You've seen the photos, you've seen how it looks like, you've seen the nice houses on the left side, you've seen the shacks on the right side. In Bryanston, you've seen the shacks coming up. If you go to Cape Town, you know very well that if you drive from Camps Bay going towards the airport, you'll encounter Guguletu, the township, and there's the Cape Flats, and this is one of the best cities in the world. So how come South Africans do not enjoy the benefit of having an economy that is so big that our cars are locally manufactured? One, did you know that about 6.7% of the South Africans earn 42,000 rand and above per month in gross? Uh, um, this is just bad for us, you know. Let's explore what this means. Let's explore what this means for the average South African, the young man that's just finished varsity, the young lady that failed matric and decided they're gonna do vacation work or vocational training and or maybe even start a business. The most common one being selling clothes or doing hair or doing makeup, just to name a few. Some of these women do actually become successful, and some of them do proceed and have over the gross of 42,000. But that's based on the survivor bias of all of the a lot of the ones that actually succeed. A lot of them have failed. So South Africa has the highest or one of the highest income inequalities in the world. Gini coefficient of about 0.67. This means that the wealth is concentrated mainly at the top. Part of the population that actually enjoys the benefits of living in this country. It's unfortunate that it's usually not the black person. This is just based off of the history that South Africa has had. And recently, you see Ramaphosa signed the land appropriation bill, which a lot of us do not know exactly how it's going to benefit the average person, the average South African like you and me. Coming back to what the Gini coefficient represents, 0.67 means that if you meet 100 people or if you put 100 people in a room, there's likely going to be 2 to 3 people who earn more than 42,000, and then the rest will earn less than that. Some going all the way down to 500 rand per month. Ramaphosa will give you 370, and that will be fine according to the government. Taxes are, we basically give taxes disproportionately, with the middle class giving the highest. They're paying the highest part of this, of running this economy. The middle class, say we, the middle class, and if you're not in the middle class, then you are basically being supported by the middle class. That's essentially what it means. So if and to be a middle class in South Africa, you don't need a lot of money. If you're earning an income of 24 to 25,000 rand a month, you're somewhere in the middle upper middle class, actually, you know. So and there's a number of people earning over 25, or I mean up until 25,000. So middle class starts as low as 25,000. So you can imagine how the rest of the South Africans are faring, how the Gogos are faring, how these social grants are not helpful. How can we change that? I mean, that's the biggest question, because it's depressing To think that in 20 years, say if now you're 20 and in 20 years you want to retire, you still have about 20 years left, so 40, you want to retire at 60 or 65. So say now that you're 20, get another 20 years to work. Then the other 20 years, you're supposed to be reaping some fruit of your investments, or investments are supposed to be coming to term. And but with the kind of money you've been making for the last 40 years, you're not able to proceed. And that's the stark reality. And you might think, okay, I'm gonna go and take some money from my pension fund. Well, it's been shown over and over again, and maybe the three-pot system is going to change this, but it's been shown that when the average South African gets to 65, they really have no money. They have no money left, or their pension fund will run out maybe in 5 years. I mean, some of them work all the way till they're 70 if the company will allow it. So let's break down these numbers. 73.7%, 70.7% of the adult population earns below 73,351 um, uh, gross per month. I mean per annum, sorry, which is only 10% of the total cash flow in the country. But so can you see this? This is so depressing. 73% of the population earns below 73,351 rand per annum. So take that number, divide by 12. At least with that kind of figure, you do not actually get taxed because you're below the taxing threshold. But think about it. 73,751, that's about 5,000 and so, or 7,000 or something, 6,000, 7,000. I'll do this calculation a bit later. Think about that's 10% of the total cash flow income. These are the people in the informal sectors, the ones that sell the fruits by the road, the magogos that sell the scopo, putu, the ones they don't pay taxes, and even if they make more than that, it's so informal that the South African SARS revenue services they cannot tax these people. They cannot tax these people. Most of these people do not even actually have a bank structure, so they'll take their money, put it in some Stockville plan or under the mattress, wherever feels safe. If you take it to the bank, sooner or later the bank is going to ask, where is this money coming from? So some of them know this. If you go into Kasi, you realize that the economy in Kasi is 900 billion. Uh, Informal, like rand. That's a good chunk of what would have formed our GDP. But how do you tax an informal sector? That becomes another problem. And there's people working in agriculture, but they don't have just a rate of the return on investment. It's not just a return on investment. It's like, or you can plant one bean and you get dozens. So it's folds. You'll see the last UCT vice chancellor, Mamoketi, I believe. You see that she's a farmer. She got her 12 million check. She's farming. She's happy. She's traveling the world. She's among the very few Black South Africans with that kind of money. You'll see people like Mam Kize. She doesn't know what struggle to choose, whether to be fat, to be a witch, or to have friends like, well, it's been mentioned on X. I'm not going to mention some of these people. Staying away from those controversies. Yeah, back to the topic. The 3.3% of the population that earns more than 625,000. That's the one that carries the economy, and you can hear that number. It's 3%, and that's 625,000. So which means a take home of 34,000. Speaking of 34,000, this is 34,000 is the kind of money that because there's income disparity in two ways. One of them, there's just generally the rich and the poor, and there's that very weird huge gap evidenced by like quantified by the Gini coefficient. And then there's an income disparity between male and female. Actually, no, it's three. Then there's an income disparity between the people, black people, and other races, from white, Indian, so forth and so on. When on the same level, when a white colleague is earning 34,000, a black colleague will be earning 12,000, an Indian colleague will be earning probably about 20,000. Uh, the colored are usually not featured that much, which is an interesting thing. But it's understandable. They didn't know where they belonged exactly. They were too black for for the whites and too white for the black people. So they found themselves in a conundrum. It's not like in the US where they just were just absorbed by the black community because first of all they had to stick together. In Africa, in South Africa, they didn't have to stick with the other black people because in essence there was a of majority of black people. Yeah, and America is different. The minority are actually black, and the majority are the whites. It was easy for the black for that what would call colored community in South Africa to be absorbed by the American black community. So this 3.3% of the population earns about 45% of the total cash flow in South Africa. This one also includes, and this is very important for you to actually understand. It includes that Standard Bank CEO that earned $30 million, 30 billion rand. Includes people like before this Steinhoff disaster or mismanagement. This big CEOs that earn in the millions, and then they get to take a bonus of 10, 20 million. I think the Standard Bank and also FNBC, or like you see, this people pull the average up. They make it look like the average income in South Africa is 25,000 or 30,000 because they're earning so much more compared to the average South African, which is totally unfair. So you can imagine how much influence these people have in the economy, and that's why when you hear very important people are leaving the country, we start getting into a little bit of a conundrum. We get a little bit uncomfortable. We don't know how the economy is going to fare. By the way, I'm not planning to do a lot of editing on this podcast. It's just raw and cut. Some of the things I say might be contrary to your opinion, might be my opinion. Engage with me. Let me know. I'm always happy to receive feedback. Okay. Okay, so the population that is running the economy and supporting the SASA grants and all, these are the elite people. I mean, you and I are not there. Sometimes you're driving past a house in Santon and you wonder how much does it take to own that house? And then you look at the yard and you see there's a GLE, there's a Lamborghini, and you go in the internet, with your fantasies, and you say, I want to dream big. And you Google this and you find, the house they have to pay about 150,000 rand a month. That's their mortgage. The cars are worth 2 million, 3 million. And so essentially they have to pay 50 to 60,000 rand. So they need to have a disposable income of almost 300,000. And that's unimaginable to me. And okay, most of these households they're dual income households. I'll give you that. But between the two, the couple, that's the spouses, one of them earns significantly higher. Usually, it's the male because obviously women are paid less in South Africa, which is something that I don't know. Well, depending on the kind of job that they're doing, if you're delivering the same performance, you need to be paid equally. It's not about your gender; it's about what you put on the table. Hopefully, nobody's uncomfortable with that. So, with that said, how does this translate to the disparity, the taxation, the all of these things that encompass us running the economy and understanding why we are broken? The government does not set out policies that will allow the average black person to be anywhere ahead in this country. First of all, the black person has to fight other black people because I don't know why we do that to ourselves. And then after that, they have to also fight against history, the years of discrimination going back to the apartheid days. And then over and above that, the government will have the BEE that essentially is supposed to accommodate or ensure that black people are accommodated in these corporations. And then you wonder if we're in there by merit or we're in there because we needed to fulfill a quota. So it doesn't give you the fulfillment of feeling that you're actually doing something meaningful. You've just been picked, selected because nobody else could be selected. So approximately 1 million people in South Africa, and that's taxable income of 500,000 and above. And you understand how SARS breaks down the different tax bracket. Some people think that when you say you're going to get taxed 42%, you're going to get taxed 42% from your entire income, or you get 100,000 and then 40,000 is gone. And that's not how it works. You go through the brackets. So you say any income earned between 0 and 250,000, it's not taxed. So take that money, put it aside, and get whatever is remaining from that, and check the difference between that 250 and the next bracket. And if 10% is being taxed over there, then you get that tax, and then the next bracket like that, and then this is added cumulatively until you get to a point where I think about 847,000 or 850,000 rand annually. After that, you get taxed, I think 40% of whatever is above, up to a certain amount. And this is where the white, the sorry, this is where the rich people, and most of them will be obviously white. This is where they're taxed. This is where they win in this tax. This is where the rich people win. That lady from Standard Bank that has 20 million, Mama Katie that has 12 million. This is where they win, because at some point they don't get taxed above that amount, so they get to pocket that money. And the other way the rich people will operate is that they'll go to your there's influence and there's affluence. They'll go to an artist, for example, somebody who paints, does nice paintings, and they'll get a painting, commission a painting, maybe a painting of Mother Teresa. Gandhi, I don't know why anybody would commission a painting of Gandhi. I'm sorry. Maybe this is not controversial. Everybody knows Gandhi it wasn't real, or it wasn't legit. I don't even know we have Gandhi Square in Johannesburg. But anyway, yeah, that's I digress. I digress. After the painting has been commissioned and it's ready, the rich guy, the rich woman, will take this painting, go to one of their friends who's an appraiser. That will be appraised for. So maybe it pays 50. You pay 100,000 for the painting, and it's appraised for about 100 million. Then you go and donate this to charity, and you get this offset by SARS. So 100 million is taken off of what you would have paid anyways. All the money that you would have paid between zero and the maximum is just given back to you. You do not benefit the economy. That's why it's easy for you to go and drive a Lamborghini, right? And that's one way. And there's nothing criminal about it. That's the weird bit. There's nothing criminal about it. You can say we want a certain amount of money to be given proportionally by everybody, except anybody earning less than 250,000. So if you earn over, okay, maybe that's how we look at it now, because you go into brackets. But I think it would apply more to the rich, because we would do the brackets as normal, and then when we get to them, we still need to extend that bracket because we don't earn past this amount. I mean, not a lot of people are earning over 1 million. The ones that are earning over 1 million, the bracket should continue or should start, or something should be made for them. So the people that earn 500,000 per year or 42,000 per month, they pay nearly 40% of their personal income tax, and that's collected by SARS. Please do your taxes. It's criminal not to do it. Plus, they fine you for not doing it. Again, those people are the ones that are funding public facilities, public transport. If you get it for free, Gautrain is not even subsidized, so that bunch of people cannot afford to run this to put this economy where it's supposed to be. So it's quite unfortunate. Wealth inequality is even more pronounced, and the top 10% of the population. The top 10% of the population owns 90%. 86 to 90% of the aggregate wealth. So with 0.1% owning nearly a third of the entire thing. The 0.1% they own a third, and then the rest or the rest two-thirds. And this is from the top 10%. So 9.9% of the people have two-thirds of the wealth, while a third of the wealth goes to 0.1% of the population. 10% of the population, 6 million people, over 60 million, 6 million people. Then 10% of that is 600,000, because 9.9% is literally 10%. And then 0.1. There's very few people here living lavishly. VVIP, very, very important person. And it has implications to the economy, whether you like it or not. The average person will feel the brunt. So the income disparity has profound effects on South Africa's economy. That is obvious. That is obvious. Sometimes I walk around and also, by the way, why do we make such bad financial decisions when we're not among that's 10% of the population? So why are you living in a rental where you're paying 10,000 rand per month, and you're driving a German car that you're paying 15,000 rand per month? That doesn't make financial sense. Doesn't make financial sense. And maybe, and I was reading about some research, and apparently, if you were born poor or raised poor, you're more likely to stay poor. Sounds unfair, or maybe actually sounds expected, because if you're born poor, you might not get the best education, you might not get be connected to the best network, so you might end up poor. But the other thing that keeps people poor is they have not been raised in an environment where they see money being spent wisely. I mean, you maybe you've been lucky enough to be in a two-parent household. Your father earns 10,000, your mother earns 4,500, so you have 14,500. It's been shown that when you have very little money, when you have little money, like 14,000 rand for a family of like four people, the people that are controlling the money, their IQ tends to drop. Now, if we put this into perspective, the average IQ is probably, I mean, for you to be considered normal and functional, between 85 and somewhere 100. For you to be um, considered, for you to be considered mentally challenged, in this case retarded, then you would be around 75 and below. Now, having less money drops your IQ by 13 points. So, if you are the very bottom, not the smartest, and really broke, with 4,000 rand with a household of four people, stretch the rand all the way to the end of the month, your IQ will drop. If it drops by 10%, just 10 points, you are considered retarded, because you can't think better than that. You're stressed. Also, when you have no chance to borrow more resources, so when you run out of credit card, you run over your credit card limit, you become even more stressed, because a huge chunk of South Africans, really, they use their credit card as if it's their money. You pay it back at the end of the month. You build the credit score. Yeah, well and good. But this is not something like buying a car with credit life insurance. Like when you pass away, it gets paid. You will eventually have to pay it back. So I've been to the bank when I was trying to close my student credit account from Absa, and at the time it was the 200 rand one. It read the available balance was zero, so maybe I didn't understand properly what they meant. The credit limit was 200, literally. So they said, first of all, you have to pay 200, and then you have to pay this amount. So eventually, it was like 250 to close the account. Now, translate that to somebody who earns 20,000 and they have in credit card debt of 50,000, and at 21% interest. Say split it between the straight and budget, and you have 20,000, 20,000, or maybe actually it will be more like 30,000 and 10,000, because Again, there's the saving culture, and you're not going to try to stop using the credit card. It's like something that's known in South Africa. You use your credit card. Where was I actually going with this? Yeah, so if you want to close that credit card account, what then happens to you? You get there and they tell you, you need to give us 40,000 rand to zeroize that. And maybe if you had some payments that you needed to catch up with and the interest has gone, so you need to cover that interest. So you paying the whole 40,000 already is a stretch because it takes away two paychecks from you. It feels like two paychecks are gone at once. So unless you're in a windfall, you're in a little bit of a problem. Yeah. Secondly, the interest that comes with it is not favorable for you, right? It's to some degree it feels like it's excessive to have a good credit score. Your interest is 21%, still high. And someday, one of these days, we'll talk about how the polo pandemic, where you buy a car, you don't even have bedding and stuff like that. We'll talk about that. So the economic growth of South Africa is it's stagnating. We had two recessions over a course of I think 4 years. Two recessions. The rand was stronger. It became weaker and weaker, and it fluctuates a lot. And so is like most countries. But it's becoming to be a little bit uncomfortable for the average, for the other countries that we have a connection with. If we don't have, or if we cannot get a hold of our rand, if we cannot stop it from having a runaway value like the ones in Nigeria. Nigeria just their naira just tanked and kept tanking. The inflation is so high. And Nigerians, I don't know, if all of them should just strike, repeat the whatever happened at Lekki Bridge, but now this time to the politicians. Because how do you make fuel? I mean, how do you mine oil and still pay a premium for fuel? It doesn't make sense. So what does this income disparity do to the average community? Because it'll be spread out between some rich guys here, some poor people over there. And I'm saying poor people because if you're earning 500 rand a month, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're living, you know, you're living, your living conditions are probably not the best. So it will lead to a social fragmentation where you guys do not associate a lot, and there's a lot of bitterness being passed around. Politically, you guys will have opposing views because, for example, if you think DA is progressive, but you rely on ANC to save you, you'll find that the people that want to be saved will generally vote for ANC. And people that think DA is progressive are probably a bit well off. I mean, I'm just basing Cape Town on this because Cape Town keeps voting DA, and a lot of rich people are in Cape Town. So for me, it looks like the rich are selecting the political class. So yeah, this is it. This is what I wanted to talk to the internet about. I don't even know who's gonna watch or listen to this podcast, but I'm gonna say this: there needs to be a consistent and progressive change politically. And I know the land appropriation bill, even though we're excited, we still do not know what it has in store for the average South African. We have limited control at the moment, but when we get to the next election period, you have to vote. You simply have to vote. You have to listen to the manifesto. You have to read these things. You're not just voting because Zuma is coming from KZN. No, that's not a good enough reason. You're voting because you've understood the manifesto, and you're voting because maybe this all politicians are evil. So you're voting because this is lesser evil compared to the other one. Whatever you do, stop putting the same people in power and hoping for them to give you different results. It's Einstein's definition of madness. Nobody will do that. I mean, it won't go the way you expect. So, in conclusion, let's conclude this podcast by saying this. Yeah. South Africa's income disparity is not just a statistic; it's a reflection of deep-seated structural issues. They are rooted in the history of South Africa from apartheid. There's a group of individuals who were born in 1994, whose parents were maybe let's say 1994. Parents were born about 1984. Oh, actually 1974. In 1974, As we go to the 1980s, momentum for apartheid to go away, and the white government at the time is throwing away the nuclear resources. Just changing things because they knew that the end was near. Those parents raised their children, letting them know that freedom is coming tomorrow. It will be coming tomorrow. So, 1974, in 1984, this person is 10 years old. They probably have parents who have been in the struggle for a very long time, and some parents have probably been arrested and imprisoned for a long time. So, some of these parents, I mean, some of these children grew up without parents because their parents were fighting the regime, and it's 1984. We're headed towards 1989, where the apartheid government just started going away. And if they raise their children telling them freedom is coming tomorrow, and then 1994, Tata Mandela betrays everybody. And no, I didn't. I know you might have a different opinion, but when Desmond Tutu said there was a prayer, and then the cattle was gone, and then stuff like that. Mandela did not give back to South Africa what was taken, and he did not give an avenue for the South Africans to get back what was really theirs. Yeah, South Africans were betrayed. In fact, in a world where we have, in a continent where we have Thomas Sankara, we could never talk about Mandela. We never talk about Mandela in that positive light. Some people even say Mandela went in one person, came out a different. I've seen where Mandela was imprisoned. I went to Robben Island. I've seen where he wrote, I think he wrote a book. We did a tour on that. And yes, the circumstances is extremely bad. I mean, being imprisoned on an island already is hectic. People have tried to swim from there, and a lot of them died, and Mandela, for 27 years, stayed there. So you can imagine the person that went in there and was beat, beat up mentally, beat up mentally, beat up mentally. Then on the 26th, they're like, okay, we're gonna give you whatever you want, but we need you to align to whatever we want. So the puppet got strings. The puppeteer, like the apartheid government at the time, I'm sure even de Klerk had a conversation with Mandela, and get some land. Like the other people did not have to get. So yeah, there's an aspect of betrayal. It would have been better if Chris Hani became president. Would have been much better. But nope, Mandela, because he was a symbol of freedom, may turn this into a rainbow nation. But to whom is it a rainbow nation? To you, the average black man seated there in the shack, because that's where the average black man will be seated. Or to you, the Indian, or to you, the colored person. And I don't think we should make and this is it's doesn't want, I don't want you to come off racist, but everybody has their own race, right? And everybody was affected differently. With the Caucasians getting affected less than the Indians, and as you go down the whatever racial profiling is done in this country, because it's there. And these are the hard truths that we have to face. Nobody's coming to take away what you have. It's fine. Unless there's generational land and the appropriation bill allows for it. But yeah, nobody's gonna come and grab it. No, there's no land grabbing going to happen. This the kind of income disparity we have is based off of this history. You know, the economic policies that were put in place to disadvantage other communities and advantage other ones. There's policy interventions that could have been put there a long time ago. Even BE was not a money making scheme for ANC. Would have been, I would have said, this is a good avenue. This is something nice. But um, with BE, ANC gets some kickbacks. Yeah. Yeah. So for us to resolve this, we first have to heal from the trauma of apartheid. We have to accept that the land appropriation is not as clear cut as we would want it to be. We have to also respect the fact that the generation of white South Africans that are here in this country, this is also their country, fortunately or unfortunately. Same with the Indians, same with the migrants. Even the Zulu people were not originally in South Africa. So I mean, most I guess only Khoisan were there, but Khoi understand. But yeah, so everybody here, this different races they've immigrated here. So we also have to respect the fact that they are parts and parcel of this country. They are second, third, fourth, fifth generation. So yeah, they're here to stay. Can't say you can't tell them to go back to Europe. They really do not even belong there. They'll eat pap just like you, and I don't think there's pap there. So yeah. So in conclusion, yeah, we have to heal from the trauma. We have to force our government, actually governments from local all the way to the national government, to set up policies that prevent us from getting discriminated against when it comes to income. We need BE to do better. We need BE to be different. Actually, we need something different from BEE. A merit-based approach, maybe that considers race as secondary. You know, cannot just be filling quotas. You have to be smart enough to be in the position you're being interviewed for. And yeah, this has been Alpha Uncut. It is hopefully one of many thought-provoking podcasts that I would love to have some with my friends. And for any information that I've gotten wrong in this podcast, go do your research, host your own podcast too, and or I'll come comment. You can also leave a comment over there. I'm not sure I'm going to post this at the moment. I think probably Spotify. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your night. This has been Alpha. Good night.